Welcome to the Fighter Country Innovation Podcast, where we break down barriers, challenge the status quo, and push forward with a mindset on continuous improvement. I'm Technical Sergeant Daniel Fournier, your host, bringing you genuine conversations with people making a difference on the flight line, in the office, and everywhere in between. Here at Luke Air Force Base, we're doing things differently. We've combined CI2, that's continuous improvement and innovation, with the Spark Cell to create Fighter Country Innovation, where big ideas are transformed from whiteboard ideas to real solutions that create impact. Our mission is simple: find, fix, empower. We believe in grassroots efforts that generate undeniable value, because when airmen take ownership of innovation, change isn't just feasible, it's unstoppable. This podcast also focuses on sharing our experiences as your hub for innovation and learning from you, our audience. Your insights and feedback are vital to our continuous improvement and innovation journey. So let's dive in, share ideas, and evolve together. In this first episode, we are going to start off with introducing the team and how the Fighter Country Innovation team is broken down. There are two entities within the Fighter Country Innovation. There's the Spark Cell and the CI2, Continuous Improvement and Innovation. On the Spark Cell side, we have Master Sergeant David Adcock. His AFSC is 2A6X2, that's age, and his specialty is project management. Then we have Tech Sergeant Tabitha Au. Her AFSC is 2A3X5. She's avionics. She specializes in people, project management, and avionics. Next, we have Staff Sergeant Michael Justice. He's 2W0X1, that's AMO. He specializes in 3D printing, CAD, software, hardware, and infrastructure. Next, we have Staff Sergeant Demetrius Benoit. He is a 3E2X1. That is a heavy equipment operator in CE. He specializes in lightweight coding. And finally, within the Spark Cell, we have Master Sergeant Michael Williamson. He is a 2A7X1, that's metals tech, and he specializes in 3D printing and CAD work. Now we have the CI2 side of the house. First on the list is Tech Sergeant Shaq Krishan. He's a 2A3X7, that's a crew chief. He's our current wing process manager and also the CI2 lead. Next, we have Tech Sergeant Malik Baker. He's a 2A6X3, that's egress. And he specializes in process improvement. And finally, we have myself, Tech Sergeant Daniel Fournier. My career field is age, that's 2A6X2. I specialize in data modeling and Power BI. Each of the team members will be asked 7 questions. This first episode focuses on each team member answering those 7 questions. This gives everyone an introduction into the team members and how we are structured as Fighter Country Innovation.
Hi, I'm Tech Sergeant Tabitha Au, and most people call me Tabby. My AFSC is 2A3X5, and I am avionics by trade. I was 10 years on F-22 Raptors, and now I have been almost 4 years on F-35s.
The first question is, can you share your background and current role within the FCI team?
Of course. So I am avionics by trade. I was F-22s for about 10 years, and then the Air Force is like, we're going to mix it up, and we're going to go to the F-35. I had some amazing airmen that laid a lot of, I don't want to say groundwork, but a lot of groundwork when it came to my knowledge when it came to the F-35. And I got involved with the FCI team because honestly, I became frustrated with aligning a nose tire in the F-35 because you shouldn't have to pick up a 100-pound bar to move the nose tire and or, dislocate your hip trying to kick the tire. Anyway, got associated with that. Got connected with Mike, and then from there, Chief Jordan asked if I wanted to have a job. I said, of course, and now I'm here. My main role is people, and that sounds weird, but I like to interact with people, make people feel a little more comfortable being able to express their ideas in a more creative outlet. I'm like the golden retriever. Someone comes through the door, I'm like, hey, what up? And I guess project management, making sure that our projects actually make it through the finish line and or at least hitting those milestones. But honestly, I'm back from maternity leave, so I don't know what's going on right now. So I'm gonna just rely on my people.
No, that's great. Thank you. The second question is, what inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem, and how did you become involved?
Oh shoot. Well, see, and that would be the perfect time for me to say dolphin because, yeah, I already answered the question. But honestly, I became frustrated as an airman, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to become part of the ecosystem was because I feel like innovation really thrives on frustration, and no one ever really innovates by going, "Wow, my job is so easy and there's nothing wrong with it." It's usually born out of frustration. So
The pain points, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so the third question is, can you discuss a specific project or initiative that you've worked on within the FCI and its impact?
Oh boy, that's a lot.
And you can take the tool.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, my tool's great, and I love the fact that me and Mike have really gone as far as we have with the Tappy kit and the now mic extension with it. Um, but I'm just thinking about all the different things that our group has done. It's not just that one particular incident. Like I look at Mike's sign hanger. So that's how I got introduced to Mike was because they kept knocking off signs and spending what seemed to be a very minute amount of money, but ultimately would end up adding up to a lot of Air Force funds and money with just a small 3D print of basically a sign holder. So I think that's one incident that really stuck out to me, especially since it involved Mike and, well, I guess mini Mike, because we have two mics. So just for the viewers to understand, because our viewers, listeners, what are they?
Yeah, they're listeners.
Are they?
Listeners, until we start recording with video.
And then, that's gonna be, oh boy. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think that's one of my big ones. And then watching drone wars really come into play. Seeing a concept of an idea and watching my team just absolutely run with it. And then you have Benoit, who does coding and is working with they can't see you. So Benoit just waved. But for all intents and purposes, now you guys know. I feel like working with him and with coding and stuff like that and really reaching out to the next generation has been a huge impact as far as watching that. I don't know. There's so many projects. I'm sorry. That was all the answers. And
No, that's fine. And this is a great way to really introduce you to the rest of the world. And we still have a few more questions to go through, but they all kind of interrelate with each other. So there's going to be some overlap.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so the next question is, how has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
That's a good one because overall, I don't like stupid. So working with the FCI was really great because I'm able to at least get out in the field to be like, hey, this is stupid. We need to fix it. But now that I'm actually working here, I'm able to bring my airmen in here and be like, look at this cool space. This is what you can do for your career field. This is how you can help. And when they go, oh, nothing ever comes out of it because the Air Force, bleh, I can actually show them cases of not only my success, but people around me or other airmen and being able to have them, I guess, talk with those airmen one-on-one and actually see that the Air Force does take their ideas seriously and wants their ideas to make the Air Force life better. So
awesome. So this is a more generalized question. This next one is, what are your thoughts on the role of innovation in the Air Force, and how has your involvement with the FCI shaped those views?
what are my views on innovation?
Yeah, so the question again is, what are your thoughts on the role of innovation in the Air Force? And then how has your involvement with the fighter country innovation shaped those views?
I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, I think it's innovate or die. I feel like if we do not continue to utilize our biggest asset, our airmen, and I know that's a very blue answer, we will be left in the dust and we will not be able to keep up with our competitors. And I marvel at every day the things that my airmen think of and say. I mean, there's some things that I'm just like, oh, what did you just say? But also, like, majority of the time, they're very well-rounded thinkers and can think out of the box. They're just afraid to step out of that box. So, innovate or die.
I like that. This next one is, what challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and what did you do to overcome them?
Well, there's been a lot of roadblocks that I, particularly in my career field, or not my career field, but my journey through FCI, because this is not the first spark cell that I've worked with, or continuous improvement, areas. It's just been working with the FCI in this capacity at Luke Air Force Base has been by far my best experience. I've worked at other entities that didn't necessarily meet my needs, and one of the biggest things that I can still remember was when I first joined this particular group. Dakota Belcher was like, we're just ninjas running around with ninja swords naked. I think there was naked thrown in there. I don't know, but it's a really funny phrase, and it made me think about like all the red tape that we have to cut, and sometimes that's a challenge in itself, cutting red tape. And honestly, ask for forgiveness. I mean, what are they gonna do? Fire me? I mean, they could, but I wouldn't. Hopefully. Dang, I don't know. This is hard. Like, even if I were to think about this question, it's still hard. But I think cutting red tape is probably the hardest thing.
Yeah, the bureaucracies that exist along the way of improving things and making sustainable innovations, sustainable, that's one of our biggest hurdles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree.
And we have one last question here. How do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force, and what role do you see us, the fighter country innovation, playing in that future?
So do you want a perfect reality or a more realistic reality?
An ideal. Because
Okay.
perfect, yeah, you can strive for what you consider perfect, but let's go with ideal.
Ideally, what I would like to see is having every base have their own version of FCI, whatever they call it. And then where once a year we all come together and collaborate with different ideas, like where we actually sit and talk more regularly, getting those airmen's ideas out there. And honestly, how I see our FCI, Fighter Country Innovation, in my mind, we're already leading it. I mean, when you have people coming up to us during the oh my goodness, FCA, AFA. Thank you. What it was. Anyway, the AFA, and coming up and going, hey, how are you guys doing this? Like that we have leading partners of the community coming out and just saying, hey, we see a huge impact that this particular small group, this team is creating. Then, I don't know. I see Fighter Country Innovation already making a huge impact. And we may not even see the full ripples effect until many, many years down the road. I mean, hell, half of us could be retired by the time that, we actually start making tidal waves. But in my mind, we're already making those huge waves. So, realistically, perfect world, rainbows, unicorns, all that fun jazz. I would love to see an FCI version at every single base, just so that way airmen know that they can come and be creative.
A group of people who have highly specialized skills working to improve all the inefficiencies and in bringing innovations all across their base.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wonderful idea and thought, and I hope that does happen.
Also, when you said special skills, all I thought about was Liam Neeson. Like, they all have a special set of skills, and they're all going to be taken. Like,
well, that is us here. Everyone here has a particular set of skills, and combined, we are an amazing force.
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Tabby. I appreciate you answering the questions. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, this was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
It's going to get a lot easier.
I mean, like, I sound like a dope right now.
That's why I have myself muted.
It's not even so much like not hearing myself. It's because I'm used to the side tone. Because, when you work radios and stuff like that on the aircraft, you have to hear the side tone. That being said, thinking about those questions in a very general sense when you have so many different accomplishments that you guys have done that I can't pinpoint. And then being able to go like, hey, what was your experience with starting with it? Because realistically, I only told the story of how I got here, not to the extent of getting shunned from other spark cells, getting told that no, my ideas are stupid, like because we'd be here for hours, and we all know him. Chatty.
Well, and so we have an endless list of conversations that we can have and that we can put out there to the world for people to listen to. And, just to hear about the things that have been done and give some ideas of maybe I could do that too.
Sorry, viewers. I'm currently eating. I'm so sorry.
Mike, you next?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right, Mike, you're up. And then as soon as you are done introducing yourself, I will ask the first question.
All right. I'm Staff Sergeant Michael Justice, Munitions Troop 2 Whiskey 071. I've worked a lot of different positions out there in ammo, but now I'm in here with the Fighter Country Innovation Team and have been for about 8 months now.
Excellent. The first question to you is, can you share your background and current role within the FCI team?
Absolutely. So what got me started up here was, as Tabby had mentioned earlier, an idea to prevent explosive placard hazard signs from being ripped off of trailers accidentally and becoming FOD hazards. A simple CAD design, 3D printed bracket system for these signs to reinforce their structure and keep them positively engaged on the trailer was what got me in here. And since then, I picked up a lot of skills for computer aided design, 3D modeling. Already had a pretty good background in 3D printing, but that really got my foot in the door and taking off in this ecosystem.
Nice. So the second question is, what inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem and how did you become involved?
Already kind of mentioned the involvement piece, but on top of that one instance, I did get a little bit involved in the very early Drone Wars program, um, kind of brainstorming ideas of what to do for the actual events, how to make it interesting and appealing for people to come. And we can dive into that a little more later. We could talk for days about that, but could you repeat the first part of that question?
What inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem?
Right. So big inspiration point was just dissatisfaction with the way a lot of things were run. This is how you turn your wrench. This is the order you turn these screws in. Everything was laid out. There was no reason to think outside the box. And I'm naturally a very outside the box thinker and found that very frustrating. Uh, However, in the FCI ecosystem here, Spark Cell, we are invited to think outside the box. Uh, Really was exciting to get my gears turning on different problem sets. How can we solve these things? Um, Either finding ways around the red tape or changing where the red tape lies completely was very intriguing to me. Being able to help solve problems that other people had is something that I was very excited to do.
Excellent. So the next question is, can you discuss a specific project or initiative that you've worked on within the FCI and its impact?
Yeah, there's been so many to pick from. Anything from small wins that we can turn around in an afternoon, all the way up to some bigger programs. But I think one that I'd really like to talk about is our implementation of Drone Wars. So I believe it was the Strategic Studies Group came down with an initiative for combat air power for all airmen, being able to put the air power capability in the hands of every big A airman, every rank. Um, common misconception in the Air Force, every general public thinks you fly an airplane. That's just not true. A lot of us are maintainers of some sort to keep those jets in the air. But the idea was to have deployment ready airmen that had at least basic knowledge understanding of how to operate a drone in the field. That way, if they were ever required to pick one up and utilize it for combat efforts, they would at least have some familiarization. Well, there was absolutely zero groundwork laid on how to teach this to people. So we developed Drone Wars, assembled ourselves a fleet of very inexpensive drones. That way, if they were crashed in training, we didn't care too much. I mean, they're like $20 a piece, really easy to work on. So went with the cheapest alternative solution versus spending thousands on big drones. And then we kind of put out a newsletter inviting a bunch of people to this event and walked them through the basics of how to fly these things, and then stepped it up a notch, made it fun. We would play, capture the flag style games with drones, put one team against the other. Whoever can collect more of these magnetic bottle caps and bring them back to their side wins that event. We do a Balloon Wars event, if you've ever played the party versions of Mario Kart, where you got the balloons on your cart, and whoever has the most at the end still wins. You put out different color balloons, red team versus blue team. You try to pop the other team's balloons, stuff like that to keep people engaged and interested. And we took this Drone Wars program from an idea into implementation in about 2.5 months. And by month 3, it was well baked enough to have our first event. And it was really successful for a long time. Had a lot of people popping into our office. What is this Drone Wars we keep seeing? And attendance rates got high enough that we just had to, unfortunately, sideline some people because we'd have 40 people to show up and only 10 drones to fly. So really increasing in popularity, and we plan on expanding that program in the future.
That's awesome. That's a really cool project. And I think it's going to take off in this year in 2025. Okay, so the next question here is, how has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
Well, specific to my career field, I've been lucky enough to work a handful of projects that really benefit the guys I used to work with out in the munition storage area. I mentioned the hazard placard bracket, really helpful. They're no longer having that issue of brackets or of the placards ripping off, and did another quick small project for them. Just ease of quality of life. I like being able to help my people out in my career field as well as other career fields. What was the first part on that?
How has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force?
Right. So just discovering that something like this existed was a huge thing for me with the Air Force. About year 6, I was getting a little disgruntled with the status quo and everything. They call them, disgruntled tech sergeants for a reason. You hit a certain point where in your career there's a lack of job satisfaction, and for me that was the inability to solve problems outside the box. Discovering that something existed where you could think outside the box and solve problems really offered a mindset shift for me, to where I actually felt like I could help produce something valuable for people, helping them solve their problems in their workplace versus, hacking wheel bearings for 8 hours a day. Didn't seem super helpful. I mean, sure, it keeps trailers going and this and that, but being able to make a larger impact is what really has driven me to want to do more for the Air Force. Another quick tidbit example for that, we mentioned AFA earlier, and with shark head lasers, everybody that saw that and has an F-35 unit loved them. We had 8 more produced, shipped out to other bases that have F-35s. We didn't just impact Luke. We helped Lakenheath. We helped a number of other units. And those that we couldn't help right then and there, they put in an order to have more produced and sent to them. So one small little, we call them grassroots efforts that came here out of Luke is impacting Air Force wide for F-35 units. So I really like seeing those kind of things come full circle and help more than just our people, help the entire Air Force.
Yeah, the things that we're doing here, they can absolutely impact other bases across the entire planet, and they have.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, the next question here is, what challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them?
There's kind of two here. Feel like it's the easy one to say, but the red tape, finding your way to navigate around that. Everyone's probably going to say red tape, but really it is the biggest challenge. Another challenge that I've faced is like learning and understanding color of money and where you can get funding for some of these grand ideas. A lot of what we do is grassroots, which doesn't require a whole lot of funding, and we're able to take care of that pretty easily. But say we have, you know, several $100,000, multi-million dollar project, where do you get that kind of funding? I'm still learning to navigate the whole SIBR sitter process, and that's kind of one way to do that. But there's a lot to understand and digest with all those processes, and it is a huge learning curve. Uh, that in general, learning curves, the whole mindset shift that I mentioned earlier that I was really excited about took me a while to get back into a rhythm of that mindset shift. So I guess that could be another challenge as well.
Did you find any ways to overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, the red tape is sometimes you just start doing something and either take the slap on the wrist later or ask for forgiveness later. You just start doing things. That's been, I found, the easiest way around the red tape. Um, and if you can't always do that, coming up with some way to change I guess we'll call it a process, or yeah, we'll call it a process to be able to help work around the way you need to work around something, be it a TO change or local manned tools documentation to basically allow your innovation to be sustainable and succeed.
Awesome. And then the last question is, how do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force, and what role do you see the FCI playing in that future?
This is kind of my hopeful, wishful thinking. We really need more of this sort of an atmosphere everywhere, um, Air Force wide, DoD wide, just outside the box thinkers coming together to solve problems in a streamlined, effective way. Um, I think with my experience in the Air Force has very undervalued the prior skill sets airmen might have before coming in, what they've learned along the way. A lot of people have really interesting hobbies. Um, 3D printing was a hobby for me before joining FCI, and now I get to make really cool prototype tools. It was just a hobby, but it's very valuable, and no one would have known about it if I hadn't walked into an FCI office. Um, so being able to get more of these types of innovation cells around the Air Force would just it would help a lot more than I think upper echelon leadership really understands. I think a lot of the upper level managers probably view this as, oh, they make fun, cool projects. They don't really see the full scope on the impact that some of this stuff can have. Um, so just trying to get the awareness out there of if you put a good team together, they can produce good quality stuff for not only you, but the entire Air Force, the entire DoD in some cases. And just trying to get them to see the value in that would be hugely beneficial.
Exactly. Thank you. Is there anything last ending comments or anything you want to add?
No, I think I'm all set. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Well, good morning. I'm Staff Sergeant Demetrius Benoit, originally from the 56th Civil Engineer Squadron as a heavy equipment operator. Shout out to the Dirt Boys.
All right. This first question is, can you share your background and current role within the FCI team?
Sure. So my background is a little bit of what I like to call lightweight coding, mostly in Python is where I, you know, find it the easiest for me and myself. A little bit of electrical engineering. My current role within FCI is just a kind of floater. Anything anybody needs help with as far as the coding portions for the little initiatives that we go through that require coding or any soldering, wiring, stuff like that.
Okay, then the next question is, what inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem and how did you become involved?
What inspired me? Mainly what inspired me to join the FCI ecosystem was, believe it or not, sort of stagnation. And I think that's an issue most people feel in their career fields. I've been a dirt boy for about 14 years, haven't done anything outside of my career field prior to this. And that's kind of what got me into this ecosystem. Now, how I became involved was a previous SIBR, Small Business Innovation Research, that I was a technical point of contact or TPOC for, and that was the Nicotech automated road sealer machine that is currently still in the works, that just went up for a tactical funding increase, or a TAC-FI.
Okay, the next question here is, can you discuss a specific project or initiative you've worked on within the FCI and its impact?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I like kind of hold dear is the teaching aspect of the few things that we do in here. We are currently working in an after-school program with a certain school in the Dysart district, and we're teaching the kids coding and 3D printing. So, um, as far as what we're doing, they don't have, in a lot of the middle schools out here, they don't have a um, STEAM type of program in the middle schools. So they get into high school and they realize that, oh, this is available, but they have no background or introductory knowledge as to what it can do for them or how they can implement it in their daily lives. So we're just giving them another option to, um, another option into a career option, if you will, that'll set them, along their path throughout their school career.
Awesome. How has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
As far as how has this ecosystem influenced, a lot of, and you've probably heard this before, but a lot of the um, work that multiple career fields do is a kind of a linear path. We get taught the basics of how to do it, where that history comes from, where the culture stems from, and there's not a lot of ways to skin a cat, or so to say, in certain career fields. So, as far as CE is involved, a lot of our work is pretty much that. It's linear. There's not too many different ways to pour concrete, to lay asphalt. But with that being said, there are a lot of a lot of different ways that we collab with other shops within CE to get the work done. So taking that mindset, that frame of thought into what this ecosystem is that I don't have to rely on my own skill set to get the job done at the end of the day. Um, like a bunch of my coworkers said earlier, we get to see a lot of people with fresh mindsets, fresh ways of thinking that, and they come in here with these grand ideas that, you know, the old way isn't always the best way. So that's kind of the path that I've been on, that, you know, that's kind of influenced my perception of the Air Force. Like it's no longer a linear way of thinking. There's more than one way to get the job done, to make sure that the product that's output is or can be the best product that can be output.
What are your thoughts on the role of innovation in the Air Force? And how has your involvement with the FCI shaped those views?
As far as innovation in the Air Force, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And as far as my involvement with FCI, that the innovation at its base level is not solely for higher leadership to decide at the end of the day that this product or this initiative or this idea is going to be the best idea. Now it relies on the younger airmen with that fresh mindset, that fresh pair of eyes, to speak out on their idea. And now we have a way that their idea can be heard at that low level or at that introductory level.
What challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them?
Some of the challenges, well, let's put it like this. Manning and funding is going to be an issue for the foreseeable future. That being said, I feel as though we have a great leadership team here, that as long as we have a reason, or we find that reason to exist, and we align those reasons with the lines of effort, we will continue to exist. So some of the solutions that, we've come across is, reduce, reuse, recycle. Anything that, can be used in a dual initiative or at a dual capacity, we try to do that. Anything that, may be out of working order for, the general public may not necessarily be out of working order for what we need it for. We have a great many shops like AFREP that help us in these initiatives as far as reduce, reuse, recycle. And, it alleviates the funding aspect of some of the stuff that we might need or we might run into down the road.
How do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force? And what role do you see the fighter country innovation playing in that future?
Well, a little bit like I said earlier, I don't feel as though innovation is going anywhere, even at a capacity where they, we as a innovation cell may not exist. We have created a culture where people at all levels can figure out what the people under them or their peers, where those interests lie and what ideas that they have. So as far as the role, that FCI is playing in the future, I believe we have already created a culture where people can go to their peers, inside or outside of their shops, to find those solutions that they need, and they don't have to start at the ground level.
I like that. Thank you. Any other final comments here, Benoit?
Yeah. I would say for those having, those issues where they believe that their idea is not viable or people aren't listening, um, step outside of that linear mindset of thinking. Find somebody who does have a stake in your issue and build on that innovative idea through your own route. And at the end of the day, that's what the Fighter Country Innovation is here for. We're here to help. We're here. We exist for those ground workers, but not just those ground workers. Everybody in between, along with your peers.
Excellent. Thank you. Dave, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Master Sergeant David Adcock. I am Kurt. My career field is aerospace ground equipment. So by trade, and then I went over into the CI2 side of the house for a little bit, and I'm currently serving as the Fighter Country Innovation Manager. So we'll say Wing Innovation Manager.
So the first question is, can you share your background and current role within the FCI team?
Yeah. So my background originally, obviously, is maintenance, right? So aerospace ground equipment, aircraft support equipment, mechanic by trade, and then along my career, I went and started learning a little bit hearing about yellow belt and what is a yellow belt and what does this all mean. And then our squadron started to do a little heavy on pushing theory of constraints. So then I started getting into theory of constraints. And then once I got theory of constraints all down, I started looking into what is yellow belt, what is the green belt, and then I came across the CI2 office where they start doing the training for continuous process improvement. So then I went ahead and did my green belt training, went through that, did my event, got certified, went through the black belt training as well, and then I wanted to find more as a senior NCO. What else could I do outside of my shop to try to help benefit some of our airmen? And so then that's when I started talking to the right individuals. Senior Master Sergeant Lushke, who introduced me to the Spark Cell. There is where I met Senior Sean McDermott. He was currently in charge at the time. And then he welcomed me with open arms. He said, yeah, we could definitely use another person up in the Spark Cell. And so then with my CI2 background, and with theory of constraints background, I ended up joining the Spark Cell, which is the element, right, that attaches to innovation for AFWorks. So.
Awesome. Thank you. So the next question is, what inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem, and how did you become involved? And that can be wrapped up in some of the things that you just said. Just kind of reiterate that.
Yeah, no. So like I said, when I was back in the flight, over down in my shop, yeah, I was currently serving the role as I had done superintendent duties, but then I was doing a assistant flight chief. But I wanted to impact my airman's life a little bit more and at a higher level. There's things that we do day in, day out, that we chalk it up to like, hey, this is the way we've done it for years. This is the way we're gonna do it. And I knew after doing all the training that I had within the continuous improvement that there were better ways and better processes to instill so we can be more proficient. Um, and so I definitely got with Senior Lushke and expressed my concerns and what I wanted to dive into, and what I need to do to get into this facade, right? Uh, Originally for myself, it was just how do I get there? And what I meant by there is, I saw Master Sergeant Brady Flynn, in that ecosystem. And then I saw Master Sergeant Dakota Belcher in that ecosystem. And I was like, how do I get to where they're at? Because I want to be doing what they're doing because they're impacting airmen's lives and changing the Air Force at a whole, at the bigger level. So what did I need to do? And so that's when he brought me up to the Spark Cell where I met Senior McDermott. We'll just call him Sean. Now that he's retired, I think it's fitting. Yeah, that's when I met Sean, and then I started just to dive into what AFWorks really was. Some of our grassroots efforts, how everything is kind of looked at between the high scope and lower scope of management, and then the rest is history. And then after Sean retired, I ended up taking over for him, and man, this is probably the one of the best, if not being deployed. Right, this is definitely one of the better jobs that I've ever had in my career, and that's going on a little over 19 years now. So
Yeah, having been deployed and also working in the innovation ecosystem, I concur with that 100%. It is by far the second most fulfilling thing I have ever done in my career, deploying being the number one.
right, because when we come up in the Air Force, um, we are first taught to do our job. Then we're taught to how to do our job, but manage the people as well. When you become into an NCO position, it is the overarching management for your shop and to make your airmen's lives easier. And I never wanted to lose that grasp. So when I did become a senior NCO, I always held on to that. Like, well, how can I make my airmen's lives easier, but at the same time being proficient? And so one of the biggest things that I learned when joining this area and joining the FCI team is getting the buy-in, having the airmen take control of their idea, and then walking them through the steps and facilitating it, while giving them all the tools necessary to get to the end goal of what they want. And the end goal is just to make their lives that much easier.
Excellent. So, that being said, how has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
I think the Air Force is definitely taking a step in the right direction. So I think Spark was an idea back in 2019, which is still fairly new in the DoD when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. Still a fairly new program, but they wanted to take airmen's ideas seriously. So that to me is a little bit refreshing to know that okay, bigger Air Force actually cares. So they created a whole department within AFWorks to establish this is going to be our ecosystem when it comes to innovation. And then from there at the base level, we'll have our Spark cells, right? Um, so being part of the Spark cell side of the house, and then us being so unique here, with having a CI2 team and being able to join forces to create the totality of fighter country innovation. So we're taking the innovation, the product, and the process in mind. Same coin, same innovation coin, one innovation or one product, and then the other side of a process, but the same innovation coin as a whole. So I think the Air Force is actually doing a great idea with starting AFWorks, and it leads me to believe that when we're moving into, did you read? I'm sorry, did you read the book Kill Chain?
That one I have not, but Jumpstarting America
Yeah.
and Hack Your Bureaucracy.
Mhm.
Those two books are great and kind of fall in that same line too.
Yeah. So, like in one of the biggest things that I took out of Kill Chain was that we spent so much time trying to maintain what we already have instead of thinking of new processes and innovative ways to do business. Um, and so after I read that book, it rang. It rang, but like that's exactly why we're here and why what we're doing is impactful because we're doing exactly what We're trying to kill that chain of maintaining, right? But think of new innovative ways that we can do business so we can be proficient. So when the time comes, we are ready, right? And it doesn't take it the same amount of effort to complete the same job here in 2025.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them?
Excuse me. Um, what challenges, man? Realistically, without having to like dog on anybody or any office specifically, I think the biggest challenge is getting people to understand that we have rules and regulations for a reason, right? And I understand that that's for the day in, day out, right? But if we want to get proficient, right, and do better, right, and provide more to the warfighter nowadays, we need to think outside of the box, right? And so the biggest thing that I've ran into is when people that are so focused, so black and white, um, with just so black and white with in regards to our rules and regulations and tech data that is out there. They don't realize like we can change those words. There's a pathway to that. Don't go so set on what those words are specifically saying. But if there's a better way to do business, we can make a better process and we can submit the right documents to get the tech data to change. All right. Um, yeah, and that would probably be the biggest thing is that everybody wants to get their checks and balances to make sure that everything is new or everything is in working order. But anytime they come across something new, it is a challenge for them. And because it's a challenge for them, it creates more work. And because it creates more work, because they have to find out the solution, then they kind of shy away and they fall back onto what is currently in place. So, in a grand scheme, to keep it short, that would be one of my biggest challenges right now.
Do you have an example of how you've overcome some challenges?
Um, Yeah. Yeah, I can give you an example as of right now. I would say it's overcome, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So when we're currently working the counter UAS, and what that really looks like. So um, when I initially started this project off, it was strictly with our local agencies, right? Our local security forces and OSI. Hey, this is what our general wants. What are you guys doing? And getting the background of what our current state is. And then from using the current state, and then I step back and like, okay, cool. What can I provide to this? And so then that's when I started reaching out um, over to individuals like ASU. I reached out to our POC up at headquarters up in ATC A5X. Uh, it's a Sergeant Maffeo up there. She's our innovation manager for the MAGCOM. And then talking to her, is there anything else that is out there in the ecosystem that I don't know about that we can jump on board when it comes to counter UAS? And then that's when I started learning, hey, there's all kinds of I would say there's all kinds of companies that are out there that we can work for, but these are the best ones, right? So it's a step in the right direction. What documentation do we need to submit? Boom, got there. This is the documentation that we need to submit. What kind of training do we need to do? Boom, was able to reach out to them. And then I actually reach out to one of the companies as well that is already established a program record with the DoD. Reached out to them, see what they got going on, and just collect data collection, right? Um, what have they done before? What do we need to do? And they kind of been leading me in the right direction as well. So I'm taking all this information, currently talking with ATC headquarters and trying to advocate for additional funding because not a lot of bases can just dish out money like that, especially when you're thinking about base defense, right? That's one of the biggest deals that I'm pushing for is we need to get after the counter UAS. There's so many drones that are being more and more incorporated into people's daily lives, whether you be a hobbyist or, forbid. that you're some sort of combatant, and you're trying to collect data and information and stuff like that. But we need to be able to protect our assets, and our biggest assets here is not just our people, but our fifth gen aircraft. So protecting everybody.
Absolutely. And then the last question here is, how do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force? And what role do you see the fighter country innovation playing in that future?
Man, this is a good one.
Yeah, I like this
is
one.
This is a really good question. So what was the first part of that? I'm sorry.
So, how do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force? And then the second part is, what's
Our
our
impact.
involvement? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how do I envision innovation? I actually think 100% that the Air Force is moving in the right direction, that there will be a localized office, right? Just like FCI. But it's going to start over uh, at like tech school. I do foresee it being somewhat of like that because they're going to already lead that way when it comes down to drones. They're going to be leading that way when it comes down to talent management. Um, Talent management is one thing that the part of the Air Force I really think we need to work on. We need to do a better job at talent management because there's airmen that are here on base that know programming, like they've done it for 10 years before joining. And now one of our guys is one of the guys we know is EOD.
Yeah. And like it was a hobby, but
Yeah.
we can really use that skill set.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, no, he actually worked on full stacking programming for 10 years before he joined, and now he's EOD. He blows bombs up. How was that a utilization of his skills? Um, and then of course there's other airmen that we've worked with in the past with almost the same exact scenario. But I like to tell the EOD one because like yeah, like what? Well, how did that programmer get stuck in doing EOD? Um, but I feel like that still the Air Force is going down the right road. Where do I see it? I do see it being a talent management. They're going to get better at doing that. And then when people come in, they're already individuals that are already doing counter UAS, drone usage, stuff like that. We have a career field when it comes to CADing, right, and camming, the fabrication flight where they do a lot of design in CNC and stuff like that. I do see a shred that is going to be dedicated to innovation projects and stuff. Um, I see it being a bigger thing what it is right now. Like I said before, spark cells have only been around since like 2019. At least this one has. So it's still just over 5 years. What are we going to look like 10 years down the road? I mean, if this last 5 years says anything about where we're at currently, I think it's going to be tremendous. So, 20 years down the road, even better. So I'll be out by then, but that would be kind of cool. I would love to stop by after I retire just to see, stay in touch. Be one of those crusty retirees. You can go to the commissary, pushing my carts around, get my wiles in over at the BX. But and then the second part of the question, right? What was that?
It's what role do you see the FCI playing in that future?
So, and I'm sure we'll deep dive later on, in future episodes. But I'll say right off the back, with what we are currently doing when it comes to Power BI or Power applications and some of the programming and software that these guys are developing, as well as the drones and 3D printing. One of the biggest deals, which I'm sure Mike will touch on, but what we've done with the little resources that we've had and now getting implemented into bigger MAGCOMs projects like the DoD replicator and Task Force 99. I think it's going to be amazing. I think we're going to have a big impact. What we've done this past year is definitely try to put a foot stomp in the innovation ecosystem, so everybody knows where fighter country innovation is. Everybody knows about Luke Air Force Base, and everybody kind of knows what we are known for. and how big we can be is the momentum that we've gotten this past year, just within AETC, but not just AETC, across other match comps. So I feel like we're going to make a big foot stomp. The way that we're built here is definitely more unique, as I said before, with a CI2 side of the house, but also with Spark cells. And there's a lot of innovation cells that are out there. That's just what they are. They're an innovation cell, but they're not built like us. We're different, right? We're built different, which is good,
Yes.
But trying to lay that foundation out as we grow, who's going to be in charge of what. But I think what we're doing right now is the step in the right direction. Only big things to come in 2025. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of deliverables we're going to be able to do this year for sure.
No, I'm really excited because, everybody on the team, everybody has a different set of skills that they bring to the table, but collectively we are a massive force that has been recognized worldwide.
Yep. Yeah. No, I don't know if you guys talked about our last biggest win over at AFA last year. That was huge because that actually led us down a couple of different avenues um, for our 3D printed drones, but also our CNC capabilities and what we're able to do. Obviously, we have Det9 here on base. What Det9 is detachment out of ACC, but they've actually helped us create some of these products. 'Cause their mindset is the same on board with us. You
Yeah.
guys need help with something. How can we help? And having multiple entities like that inside the fence line is awesome. But we already have that support as well outside. Um, when it comes with ASU, or you want to talk about Ensign or Southwest Michigan Accelerator Center, those guys, the guys over down in Tucson. So I think we have a big enough network here in Phoenix area or in Arizona as a whole, that FCI is going to make a tremendous impact in the next few years. So hopefully we can step our game up as one of the top 5. That's our goal, right? Our goal is actually to be the top one, right? That could be our vision. That's our vision, to be the best spark cell that is out there. But
Hey,
with
we can do it.
yeah, but with the mission set that we have here, we have to just work within those confines, right? We don't want to waste funds or anything like that
No,
over something that doesn't pertain to our mission. And if it pertains to our mission, that's what we're going to get after. So, yeah.
but it's the way that we go about solving these issues, bringing about the innovations, and getting the solutions to go from ideation to reality. We're going to be able to do that and perhaps set the precedence for efficiency in that process.
Yeah, because one of the biggest deal, two projects that were within AppWorks that just got solidified this past year, right, is Saber and Acclimate, right? And initially was just an idea that airmen here kind of thought of. Granted, it took a few years to come to fruition, but figures it's here now, and we can benefit our airmen now. So can't wait till we get those in, so we can go ahead and give those to our warfighters and see how they like.
And that's soon.
Yep. That should be here in the next few weeks. Yeah, we're going to get about 300 of those acclimates, and we'll go ahead and DB it out to guys that will be working out in the heat and see how they like it. We'll wait for the rest of the iterations of it,
Awesome. Do you have any other closing comments for your introduction?
Not at all. Well, yeah, one thing, right? I say no, but one thing, right? If you are interested in innovation as a whole, I would tell you right now, the innovation, yes, it's a big buzzword, but is not something that is out of the reach of over anybody. Don't put the innovation word on a pedestal. It is attainable, right? You just have to know the right people. And by doing this podcast, hopefully we can do that, set the foundation and let people know who they can reach out to, right? If they have an idea, good or bad, even if it is a no, we'll still help you out so you can figure it out. We'll still load you up with tools. It'll be a learning thing. So the next thing that you come across, you'll be a little bit more educated. So, and then one last thing is going to be, if I can hit on, it's going to be our unit innovation rep program. So I would love to put that out there. we are starting a innovation rep program, and so we're going to be. It's kind of going to be a little revamped. There's going to be some deliberate development in there. We're going to be teaching you guys. Um, it We'll be teaching you everything about CI2. On top of that, we'll teach you about AFWorks, some of the SIBR items, some of our partners that we work with here in the local community, what we do specifically, and everything that we do here, how it pertains to the bigger mission here, not just at Luke, but bigger Air Force mission. So how are we intertwined with all those networks? And then that way, when you go back to your unit after 20 to 30, or sorry, 30 is said 30. After 60 to 90 days, you'll return to your unit that much wiser, right? An established rapport with the FCI team. And so when you run across an airman that has issues or has a solution, you already have the rapport with them. All you got to do is come through our doors, hit us up on our phones, and we'll reply, give us an email. Either way, however you want to reach out to us, we'll have the reason there for you. So we can help you help that airman, right? And one of the biggest things that we do here is to make sure that our airmen take full credit for everything that they do. We might take a little credit here and there of facilitating the effort all the way through, but that's all we're here for. We're here for our airmen. This space that we're sitting in right now is for our airmen. So everything is for them. So whatever we can do to help them out, the unit innovation rep, that's one of the ways to get involved with us. If not, stay tuned, listen in, see what you can learn. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Malik.
Hello, Dan. What's going on?
Hey, so can you share your background and current role within the FCI team?
Yes, sir. I sure can. So, first off, Tech Sergeant Malik Baker. 10 years after duty as of last week. I'm a egress technician here by trade. Saved a couple lives here and there. MBA, PMP, black belt trained here soon, and currently I serve as a CI2 manager here at Luke, based out of the MXG, but we mentor airmen here across the wing and lean, and service as project managers across the wing, whether it's innovation or improvement.
Awesome. Thank you. So what inspired you to be part of the FCI ecosystem, and really how did you become involved?
So my involvement stemmed from, honestly, my boss saying, hey, now that you're in support for egress, I need you to help me do a green belt event for support. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have a choice. So I I locked in for that, and I really enjoyed everything that came with it. The data mining, the enacting countermeasures, the deep dives into problem solving. And I'd already had some sort of higher education in project management as is. So I went out and got certified myself, left for a year to Korea, and came back, and Shaq called and said, do you want the job? And I said, sure.
That's
So
awesome.
that's how I got here.
So being in this job, you work on a whole bunch of different projects and stuff. Can you discuss a specific project or initiative that you've worked on within the FCI and its impact?
Right. So one of the bigger things here, as I'm still young in this field, we're working here to do our unit innovation rep program. Hopefully nobody else already spoke on it, but
Dave touched on Dave touched on it a little bit, but that's okay. Like give a little bit more context to the FCI because or the unit innovation rep, because it's important to speak on.
Right. So the unit innovation rep program essentially supposed to be threefold. We bring Airmen Big A to our ecosystem and have them engage in every activity that they would see us do on the day to day. Again, whether it's improvement, doing green belt, TOC, helping us perform slingshots at other events, or innovation. They go through our coding classes, our Power BI classes, our drones, and all that, right? And the beauty of it is that we teach these airmen how to be better problem solvers, critical thinkers, and they get these skill sets, whether it's for their job or just on the outside, because there's a lot of goodness in what we do on the outside as well. And then also the squadron gets back in airmen who can go out there and perform change or enact different ideas, or at least to the very least view what they do differently, So I think that's a beautiful thing because we didn't just take their airmen for 60 days and return them back with nothing. No, you have an extension of FCI in your shop. So whether it's for your sake or anyone's sake, that individual is able to go out there and see an issue and take action on the issue. And if they have any mentorship, they get it from us. So you have FCI benefiting because they get that extra individual who is now, we're enhancing the culture of innovative thinking. The squadron gets a qualified individual, and then that individual themselves becomes more qualified to go out there and do what they have to do in their respective sections. So it's a good program. I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I'm really excited for that to kick off because the more people that we get to flow through this ecosystem, the more the influence has, the more that people can influence their own work centers and really bring that outside the box thinking to bring the you know bring the innovations, bring the solutions, and or take a small idea and then grow it into something that is, oh, we've fixed a broken process that we've had for years, but now this unit innovation rep comes through with a open mind and a new set of skills,
Mhm.
and then now they're able to help out in ways that they couldn't before because they were exposed to the ecosystem.
Yep.
So having that in mind, how has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
Oh man. So um working for Fighter Country, it's introduced me to a whole new world. This innovation improvement world, um, being much different than maintenance, right? Maintenance can be very tough. It's a critical, important thing, but it can be very tough. It can be very rigid. There's not much for change, especially as you get older within this field. You do things so long a certain way. My way of thinking was very minimal. My scope was very small. So working for Fighter Country has definitely awoken. It's broadened every part of my career. I mean, here within the last 8 months, I've already had the opportunity to go and pretty much work for headquarters. I traveled around and see what exactly all across of aerospace or our enterprise actually has going on. The bigger pictures of what the Air Force wants moving forward, and they want this. They want people to make change fast, um, and they want people to think. They want people to ask for forgiveness and not permission when making these initiatives happen. As long as it's data driven, of course, but they want people to think. And that's exactly what Fighter Country has done for me. It's allowed me to think at a critical level across not just maintenance, but everywhere. And I think from my Air Force perspective, right, as from that part of it, it's networked me with a lot of like-minded innovators across the enterprise. Again, whether they're maintenance or intel or whatever, and it's also shown to me, right, that they're an innovator can be anywhere. Um, you can walk in the door and within your first months of being an airman and be an innovator, being whatever your background is before you came. All you have to do is accept the bigger perspective and have the will to enact change. And I think it's out there. There are people out there who are willing. It's a very small world, but it's our world here in innovation. So I'm pretty excited to be a part of a team like this. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So are inevitably challenges along the way for every sort of improvement or innovation. What are some of the challenges you've encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them?
Oof. One of my biggest challenges is that you can't please everyone, and
Facts.
you cannot force your customer to drink the water that you provide, even if they're thirsty. You cannot. Within CI2, or yeah, you cannot. We do everything for the customer. It's one of the first things you learn is about voice of the customer, and often these customers are stuck in their ways. They don't understand why, instead of making a quick knee jerk decision in a week, Why do we need to sit and take 3 months to really sit and break down a problem? And even when they enlist your help to do that 3 months of thinking for them, they'll take that solution and be like, we think we're going to go a different direction. Maybe after the data diving, we blamed an entity, not blamed, we decided that a root cause was within a certain entity and they didn't like that answer. That entity doesn't think they're the problem, so they want to go a different route. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with your data and your time being not wasted but unutilized in the end. That doesn't mean that later on leadership can't change and then they come in at your solution. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything without the customer wanting to do so. So often in this realm, I get so drawn into wanting to help because I love helping people. I see the vision, right? I want them to see the vision. I use and my solution is really to just try to enhance my communication tools and deepen my bag to encourage individuals to go the way I'm thinking. It's been more successful than not so far, I will say, because if they understand that, hey, this is for you, this is for your team, these solutions are coming from your team, not all the way from Fighter Country. Like we can't do anything without the customer and that agency we're trying to involve. So that typically helps, but at the end of the day, they can be like, no, we want to go a different direction. So you have to be okay with that. And I'm still learning to be okay with that. No one likes wasting their time or feeling like they wasted their time.
Yeah, especially when you put so much of your skill set, your energy, into helping out organizations that have sought us out for like, hey, we have the solution. Let's go down the road, and then you present a solution or you bring to light a root cause, but for whatever reason, that root cause is, would you say, not ignored but discarded or brushed under the rug, or you're like, oh well, let's not address this at this time.
Right. I
You know?
mean, I feel like if yeah, I don't want to do too much blaming, right? But the pilots, I'm a maintenance guy. If the pilots call us and say, "Hey, we're trying to figure out what's going on," and they think it's maintenance, and you do the data digging and say, "Actually, it's you guys. It might be the problem." They don't want to hear that. Ops don't want to
So-
hear that ops is the problem, so they go
Yeah.
a different direction.
So I think that's something with a lot of people, though, is that it's an uncomfortable feeling of like, well, okay, I am the issue. Like, oh, it's a hard pill to swallow. But the reality is, we are here we have a mission, and we have to set aside our egos so that we can, engage in whatever process improvement, innovative creation, and bring those solutions to the table. So, but that actually brings us into the last question, which is, how do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force? And more specifically, what role do you see the fighter country innovation playing in that future?
So my opinion, well, I think we can both agree that innovation and improvement will play a heavy part, not only in our day to day, but eventually, we all talk about the greater power competition. Um, we have we have enemies out there who are moving just as radically as we are, or even they're moving better than we are at these improvements, constantly trying to change and make themselves better regardless of what they had going on over the last. No, America, uh, our military, we've been so good so long that the rate at which we change and improve ourselves has diminished based off of complacency, in my opinion. I mean, we're still number one in this world, but there are people who are constantly trying to be better than we are, and they're moving quicker about it. We have a lot of red tape. Innovation, specifically innovation, I believe is great because when you think about some of the wars we've been a part of, the technology we used specifically for that time period, that state of war period, just to get the mission done that day. That's what I see innovation as. Whereas improvement, we got that peacetime. We can go through the red tape. We can sit and think. No, sometimes we have to act. And fighter country we're encouraging that. Um, and my role within that future is to empower a new generation of airmen to radically think. So again, they can ask for forgiveness and not permission after making a critical decision with data that can improve their lives and ultimately the enterprise. So if I can encourage that culture early on at the tactical level or the operational level, then that's the whole point of us, in my opinion.
Awesome. Vig and Malik, do you have any closing remarks for your intro? And remember, this is just the beginning. This is the very first episode, and this segment here for each individual is just a way to introduce each person and what it is that our views, perspectives, and perceptions of fighter country innovation and how it is that we're affecting the greater mission as a whole, and on base and around the world too. Because the reality is, we are affecting things around the world from Luke Air Force Base.
Absolutely. Luke, I mean, for myself, not too much, man. I'm a worker. I've always been a hard worker. I've always wanted to grind out wherever I am, and that's how I got here in the first place. So, big thing for me is as long as I'm able to empower the individuals to be where they need to be and think how they need to think, and be better themselves, then that's all I'm here for. And like you said, we've definitely changed the world. A Sharkhead laser is worldwide now, right? So it's a beautiful thing to take an idea and after a year or two scale it across the enterprise. Not too many people get to even experience that, which I am truly grateful for. Sitting here talking on this podcast was not in the cards as an egress technician on mids. But now here I am, my voice, our voice being heard by many. And again, it's just to empower people again, which is what I'm all about. So I appreciate it even being here in the first place. Dan.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. So, for those of you listening out there, stop by anytime. We have open doors and we encourage people to come in. We are going to ask that if you have an idea that you want to talk about, you want to sit down for a podcast episode, please come into the library building. You come into the main doors on the left-hand side. Next to ALS, there's us. And we have a beautiful space that's being built up. We have the equipment here. Come in, we'll talk about your ideas, and we'll get it out there to the world.
All right. Stop on by.
Thank you. So welcome, Shaq. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you the questions for your introduction.
All right, copy. My name is Tech Sergeant Shaquille Krachan. I am a 2A3X7. Basically, it's a crew chief on the 5th gen, so F-35s and F-22s. I formerly was a crew chief on the A-10, and now I'm here in this wonderful ecosystem.
Actually, before we get into the questions, how do you feel about going from the A-10, as awesome as an aircraft that is, that everybody loves the A-10, to a 5th gen fighter?
Man, it's definitely a big difference, right? The A-10, as everybody who has done legacy will tell you, you can beat on those aircraft with hammers. You can push things all the way, with a lot of force, strap things, and, the F-35 is not like that. It's a very gentle aircraft. You have to be specific in how you touch it, and if you don't, it's gonna break. So although I do love the F-35, I've done a lot of great things and been a part of great milestones as well. So altogether, they both have their own purposes and are great in their own ways.
Indeed. All right. So the first question here is, can you share your background and current role within the Fighter Country Innovation Team?
So as you heard before, I introduced myself as a crew chief, and I started off in this ecosystem doing a Greenbelt event. So I'm on the side that leans toward Lean Six Sigma and theory constraints and Scrum. So with that being said, I did my initial Greenbelt event and was hired on as a project or a process manager. And from there, I found my way to this wonderful ecosystem. And then my current role in the team right now is the wing process manager. So I kind of went from the group now to the wing process manager, and I'm loving it, man. Every single day of it, getting to help people and see how they work through their problems and finding out different um, ways to move forward with different individuals. It's a challenge, but it's a great challenge. It turned from a passion to a greater passion, if you must. I'm not sure if that makes sense to a lot of people, but I'm very passionate about helping individuals see their full potential, right? And that's our current role here at FCI, Fire Country Innovation, is finding your passion and helping you develop and grow that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that actually kind of already ties into the second question, which is what inspired you to join the Fighter Country Innovation ecosystem, which is CI2 and Spark? And how did you originally become involved? And was that through the Greenbelt event that you did?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to kind of work through all the questions. I don't want to kind of speed through, although they kind of all tie together for me, myself, and my situation. To answer your question, how did um, what inspired me? As you heard, I'm passionate about helping individuals, right? And at Fighter Country Innovation, we find ourselves with so much resources around us, so many opportunities around us that we can't do it all by ourselves. So that right there was what drove me to say, "Hey, I can't just keep this information to myself. I can't just keep these opportunities to myself. They have to be someone out there that can benefit from that." Right? So that's what inspired me to find individuals on the flight line, find individuals in the office spaces, find individuals um, inside of the defect, if you must, right, in the randomest place on base, and say, "Hey, I think this could benefit you, and here's how." And then not only show them here's how, but help them understand how to do it for themselves, right? That's what inspired me to get into this space. And the other part of that question was going to be, how did I become involved? I became involved because initially, before Fire Country Innovation it was known as continuous process improvement, or now currently known as continuous improvement and innovation. And then you had the Spark. We found here at Luke Air Force Base that more time than not, we were doing the same project, but pulling in two different directions. And we saw fit to put both sides together and form Fighter Country Innovation. So that's how I came to Fighter Country Innovation and where we are right now.
I like that. Yeah, it's here at Luke, we have a phenomenal ecosystem. Having both CI2 and Spark work hand in hand. And now we're working on projects in a forward direction instead of in different directions. The forward direction is in the same direction. And it's fantastic. So this next question is, can you discuss a specific project or initiative that you've worked on within the FCI and its impact?
I would have to say the creation of the FCI was a project that really is significant to me. And because without this project right here, we wouldn't have evolved to where we currently are in the ecosystem around the Air Force, around the DoD. I believe the creation of the FCI has put us on the map to show the true way of moving forward versus a possibility. No, we're making it happen now. We're not here saying that, oh, we need permission from this. No, we just did it, right? And when we did it, and we're showing the benefits of it, the fruits are coming, right? The fruits have shown because we have people coming out to visit our facilities, people reaching out to ask us questions about how we operate the way we operate and how we have so much success, right? We're doing what needs to be done by saying that we have the best of both worlds. Innovation has its place and continuous improvement has its place, right? And we found a way to mold the two together to form Fighter Country Innovation. So the impact has been, again, across the Air Force and even across the DoD, because we had projects with sister branches before, right, that have moved us into different areas that we thought we never been in or will be in before, right? And a lot of it has been due to our past members of the Fire Country Innovation, although we've done a great job to pick up the mantle and run with it.
Excellent. How has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field?
That's a great question. It has opened my eyes. As a crew chief on the flight line, you're kind of stuck in the day-to-day grind, the routine of things. Especially as an airman, you get the box. After coming in early, you check the board. Checking the board, you go catch the aircraft. You do the maintenance that needs to happen when it comes down. Then you go home, right? That's like the day-to-day. There was no path forward to show my interest in other areas. Although once getting this opportunity, shout out to Chief Jordan and Chief Glenn, for giving the opportunity. Those ideas start to shape a different way, right? You have so many different organizations out there that can help you achieve not only professional but personal aspirations. So now that I've been in this spot, I have various different ways forward. As you, Dan, have told me before, you have your PACE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You have primary, alternate, right? Contingent, and your emergency, right? And that plan has transformed significantly because of my involvement and my opportunity to see different things here in FI Country Innovation. So that's how it has evolved. My understanding of my perspective on my career field and also within the Air Force. And again, it's not just to think of myself in a situation. It gives me opportunity to see how can I touch the career field and what different ways. It has opened my eyes to what is needed within it, even though they don't see it right now. And how can I start to drop the seeds where it need to be to get them there, right? Because the thing about our ecosystem that not many people want to really discuss, I know it kind of maybe transitioning into the next question. We have a lot of barriers in this job, right? And in this job, it's kind of hard to stop at the first no. You have to be able to and be willing to push through and go to that second question. Hey, can I do this? Even if it's another no, can I do it to another person? You don't stop until you find that one individual that can say no to you, and then you stop there. Although after that, you may even try to find another way around that problem. Barriers will always exist. Are you persistent enough to get through it, though?
Indeed, and yes, that does lead us into the next question, which is what are your thoughts on the role of innovation in the Air Force, and how has your involvement with the FCI shaped these views?
I believe my role currently right now is one of an early adopter, right? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the early adopters, the later adopters, and then you have the chasm, right? The frozen meadow, if you must, right?
Mhm.
Again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to even be possibly considered, and I say that very lightly, possibly considered early adopter, and seeing how many people do not know of what we do here. And even when we've done as much as we have over the last 3 years to get that word out there, there's still so many people that have not been touched, that have not been trained, they have not been informed of the possibilities. So that's why I say early adopter is my current role. And how is it shaping the views? I believe we're providing a blueprint. I think it's how we're shaping it. We're providing the Air Force right now, or the future Air Force right now, a blueprint on how to operate. Right. I think it all goes off of the view perspective, if you must, of what individuals right offer and have in a subject. So, for instance, with this, I can say, hey, I want to fight against innovation. I'd rather just stay with continuous improvement. We offer a way of saying, hey, you can actually do both, and here's how you do it. Right. So that blueprint is going to shape the Air Force in providing the stepping stone for evolvement.
What challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge that I encountered was always being prepared. And I say it because it was one situation we were part of our wing strategic planning. And we were one of 4 junior enlisted members to be blessed with an opportunity. We took it and ran with it, right? We succeeded at it, although it taught me something. Always be prepared for the unknown. Always be ready to speak on something even when you don't know about it, and be willing to say, hey, I don't know about it now, although I can find something out about it later for you. I can get back to you about that, right? So that's the challenges I see when implementing innovation. A lot of people get discouraged real quickly when they're not able to do that, not able to be prepared in a situation. That happens. How do you vector from that and grow from that and keep yourself from being in a situation like that? So that's where I would say to answer that question. How did I overcome it? I always try to keep in the loop with everything, building trackers, right? Continuous engagement with the team members, just a brief understanding of what they have going on, and try to verse myself on it in my own personal time, or even ask them as much as I can about whatever they have going on. Because a lot of times you'll find in our team that we have so much stuff going on, it's kind of hard to stay abreast on everything, right? I mean, counting with us right now, we have over 17 projects.
There's a lot of moving pieces right
A
now.
lot of moving pieces, right? So with that being said, that comfortability of saying that, hey, I can get back to you, right? That's how I overcame it. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable or not knowing. It's okay, right? You just have to press forward and get that answer back to that stakeholder when in a significant, I say in a swift amount of time, right? Prompt time.
All right, let's get to this last question here, which is how do you envision the future of innovation within the Air Force? And what role do you see the fighter country innovation playing in that future?
I would say the future of innovation in the Air Force begin to have stronger ties to continuous improvement. Because it's one thing to innovate something, although if you have no process to continue it, where does it go? So that, again, hand in hand blueprint we have right now and we're showing, that's what's going to shape innovation for the future, because we're going to show our practitioners, our innovators, that it's important to innovate because you're going to break through barriers that have not been broken through before. Although don't think of it as a one and done situation. Think of it as a stepping stone. Think of it as a way forward to break through to another room. Even if that innovation doesn't move forward, you have an improvement, sustainability, or standardization, then improvement again, right? So that's how I see or envision the future of innovation within the Air Force. And what role do we play in it? I think we play a significant role in the future of the Air Force because, like I said, we've been sharing our way of operating with so many different bases and showing the goodness of it. And even as we speak right now, we have people from other bases here with us right now. Explain to them, hey, this is the right path. And even with explaining them that's the right path, we're still evolving this blueprint, evolving this pathway to kind of compensate and incorporate different perspectives of people that we come across daily. So again, continuous improvement and innovation are hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward, that's going to be the future of innovation in the Air Force. And the way fighter country innovation will shape that future.
I believe that 100%. Before we end your introduction, do you have any final comments that you want to leave the audience?
Yes. Don't be afraid to step out and be different. Just because it's not the status quo, just because it's not the way things are currently being done, there could be a way to better whatever you're going through right now as far as process, or a way to innovate something in creating a brand new way that was never even seen before. So be courageous, be bold, come and see us right here at the Fighter Country Innovation. We will love to help you develop those ideas into the actual projects and actual products that it will become in the future. That's my final comment.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jack. Master Sergeant Michael Williamson has asked me to narrate his answers for the 7 questions. So here they are. The first question, can you share your background and current role within the FCI team? His answer, I joined the Air Force as Aircraft Metals Technology. I suppose if I had to put a name to the role that I engage with the most, it would be something like a product developer with 3D printing and CAD. I also step in continuously for FCI. I participate in each class we offer, so each instructor's specialty, such as coding, 3D printing, or yellow belt, etc., will either continue or, at the very least, I'll be able to speak on it for any innovator that might come in through the door. Question 2. What inspired you to join the FCI ecosystem, and how did you become involved? His answer. It was actually my friend, Master Sergeant Too Tall Jones, that got me hooked. He and I deployed together a while back, and then a few years later, he randomly showed up one day here at Luke on a TDY with a program called Project ARC. After getting an understanding of what Project ARC entailed, I realized I pretty much do the same thing in Metals Tech, but now at a base level. After that, I guess you could say that I use the Spark Cell to ingest problems I could get after and solve. Question 3. Can you discuss a specific project or initiative you've worked on within the FCI and its impact? His answer. I had a lot of fun working on proof of concept ideas for the LCTE, low cost threat emitters, with Project ARC engineers that came to Luke. The testing and experimenting was mostly an impact on me and motivation for continuing to participate in the innovation ecosystem. Question 4. How has working in the FCI ecosystem influenced your perception of the Air Force and your career field? His answer. I have been fortunate to grow in a career field that isn't exactly driven by step-to-step process. If Metals Tech can't use an alternative method to unbind components or fabricate a unique jig or fixture to facilitate maintenance, then the part is lost or scrapped. After being in fighter country innovation and empathizing with problems airmen are facing, I see that this mindset is unique, and I have a greater appreciation for where I come from. Question 5. What are your thoughts on the role of innovation in the Air Force, and how has your involvement with the FCI shaped those views? His answer. I think I've always held on to the idea it's imperative that the Air Force maintains its competitive edge with other nations, and that's where innovation steps in. If my view has been altered, it's only been enhanced, or my involvement has intensified my feelings about it. Question 6. What challenges have you encountered while implementing innovative solutions, and how did you overcome them? His answer. I think cultural resistance to change has and will be the main challenge to overcome. Mitigating risk for the one who would need to sign off on adopting the idea is how I overcome that. And then the last question, question 7, how do you envision the future of innovation in the Air Force, and what role do you see the fighter country innovation playing in that future? His answer: the Air Force will, or at least should, center on integrating technology, collaborating ecosystems, and faster implementation. I believe we're making that happen already. So my hope is that the Air Force will recognize and feel confident to lean on fighter country innovation to lead and innovate. That's a wrap for this episode of the Fighter Country Innovation Podcast, where we break down barriers, challenge the status quo, and drive real change together. Do you have an idea, feedback, or a story to share? We want to hear from you. So reach out, stay connected, and become part of the innovation movement. Remember, find, fix, empower. Keep pushing forward, keep moving, and we'll see you next time on the FCI podcast.